the Jamaica Racing Commission, JRC. They are the regulators of horse racing in Jamaica. They enforce the Jamaica Racing Commission Act, and the promoters of horse racing, Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited, they are the sole promoters of the sport, the game in the country, at loggerheads over the imposition of a new rule governing the start time for races at Caymanas Park. If the start time is advertised as, say, 3:30 p.m., the regulators have given SVREL a 5-minute drag time policy to get the race off, to get the race started 5 minutes after the schedule, the advertised start time. SVREL struggled with that on April 27, and twice the infraction was so grave as to force the stewards on duty at Caymanas Park to authorize the abandonment of those two races. I began that discussion on Monday with the key stakeholders involved in the issue, and I've brought them back quick turnaround for a continuation of the discussion because we left at the point where the TOBA CEO, Ainsley Walters, was talking about solutions, and that's where we should go, solutions, in this episode, gentlemen. Just before we go there, I want to come back to Solomon Sharp to ask, you've heard the JRC chairman say that they were decisive in their action to shorten the amount of time that was running on the clock between the scheduled start time and the actual off time for the controversial 6th race on April 27. You are not happy. You're not joining Clovis Metcalf in his perspective on things. What could your team have done better in the circumstances?
Well, in hearing you guys speak about asking for permission, yes, based on what is going on, if we went to the stewards asking for permission to delay the start of the race because a horse has bolted, let's get back to racing 101. Why would we be asking? This has never happened. All of these persons, a clerk of the course, this trainer, that person, this person, we have never had to ask permission for a delay because we are not trying to delay a race. Our team called the stewards to ensure in communicating, are you aware that the horse bolted? Yes. None of us have any permission to scratch a horse. Yes. The stewards on duty is that's their job. Yes. So if they are not aware that a horse is not at the gate, for whatever reason, we are trying to make them aware that the steward is not at the gate. But you give these stewards, you put these stewards under undue pressure. You start a new rule, right? Remember, Caymanas Park is 60-odd years old, and you're telling me about 60-odd races. How many races has happened in the 60-odd years? So in 60-odd years, you put a new rule, and you're going to hold a gun now and say, bam, you better or else. But I guess maybe I can't win. Hold on. Yes. Because the law says that this must happen and that must happen. Nobody is trying to get drag time there. Yes. The horse bolted.
And hold it right there. So I come back to you, Clovis Metcalf, because the point that Solomon is making has some validity, because you already lost time to start the race by virtue of the horse bolting, by virtue of the horse being checked. Then, although you say that your stewards communicated decisively to the track announcer to tell the public that the horse had been scratched, and then they saw that the riders had been instructed to dismount, what about some communication at that point with SVREL to say, all right, the start time policy is out the window on this. Let's move as quickly as possible. Why apply the hammer in those set of circumstances?
Let me just say, apart from the fact that discipline is discipline, you heard me, George, you are a racing person. Let me just say, the horse was declared a late non-starter. And the promoter...
How many minutes before the race actually started, Clovis? How many minutes between the announcement and the start of the race?
Shortly after the horse bolting, the stewards took the decision that he's a late non-starter. So therefore, we are expecting the horses to start loading, because it didn't go around the track 1 or 2 or 3 times. It went right back to the paddock.
So question, Clovis.
The racing surface was clear.
When the starter, Clovis, hold on. When the starter when you saw that the riders had dismounted, what action did the stewards take to find out why the instruction had been given for the riders to dismount, and how quickly thereafter did the riders retake their place in the saddle?
The position is that the starter had no authority to
But who
have the
pointed
jockey
that out, and how
dismount.
quickly was that pointed out, Clovis? Is the point the question I'm asking.
We move ahead. We don't delay. Once we see something happening, we try to communicate with the promoter. You know, we don't sit down and wait. We keep announcing them. We say, listen, it is 5, it is 10, it is 15 minutes after post time. So we keep everybody informed. The pundits, the racing promoter, Charles Wilkes, you know, because he came in the box discussing it with our director of racing, Nemad, and it was clear. The question he asked was a late starter. So get on with the race.
Let me say this to you, though, Clovis. Let me say this to you, that a zero drag policy has been tried at various tracks around the world, met with various levels of success. And it's hard to tie down a zero drag policy where horse racing is concerned. You know that. There was, in my research for this program at Rideau Carlton Harness Racing in Ontario, they had a zero drag policy in or about 2021 that worked for a spell. It didn't last longer than that. There was also a zero drag policy at Del Mar that worked for a spell, did not drag beyond that, because the accepted wisdom in the game is that there has to be a drag of maybe 2 to 6 minutes, given the vicissitudes of horse racing, if I may use that term. And so, when you have a situation where you're imposing a rule change on a promoter of horse racing in the time that you announced and the time that you said it was to take effect, you would expect that the communication would have been more sympathetic. It appears, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the intention was to show SVRL who's boss.
Absolutely not. That means that makes no sense.
Tell me why.
That is not in the interest of the industry.
Yes.
That we are working together. We always try to communicate, and we do not have a zero drag time. Anyway, we allowed 5 minutes drag time. Can I just finish?
Yeah, you can.
5 minutes.
Yes.
5 minutes drag time. In addition, we would give another 5 minutes or more. So they have at least 10 minutes. The first race was abandoned after 25 minutes. This race 6 was abandoned after 20 minutes. So nobody can say we don't allow drag time. It is in the rule. It should start within at least latest 5 minutes after the post time. That's a drag time of 5 minutes. Plus, we have never taken any action. And just before I finish, John, yes, from day 1, April 1, we have been announcing and educating the promoter that it is important to start the races on time. Every race we ask for the Rickman to advise them that we are behind time.
Yes.
And the race can be abandoned. We took no decision. So it's just moral suasion.
I hear you, Clovis. And Patrick, let me ask you.
That should work.
I hear you. Let me ask Patrick. Patrick, the regulator says that it's not in their intention to apply the iron fist, that they want to work with the promoter after all. From how you saw the rule implemented on that Saturday, April 27, do you believe that it's in the best interest of the sport, the way the rule was applied?
Well, due to the circumstances now, I totally see where there probably was some non-communication or miscommunication.
Of the distinction, yes.
Right. Now, I've been in racing 27 years now, and we have always tried to start races on time. All of this just started happening a few years ago. Now, there are rules, and we must try to follow the rules. Where we can't follow the rules, I think there should be communication.
Not new rules?
I don't think the rule is probably new.
Yes.
But we have been starting races on time.
Yes.
From ever since that I have done racing.
Hold it right there. We'll talk solutions after the break with the Toba CEO and, of course, get perspectives from all of the gentlemen about how we can ameliorate the situation going forward.
I'm Tashika Lu, and we all have a story. I can vividly remember when I was about to sit my CSEC exams, my light took an abrupt turn. While I was walking home, I was struck by a motor vehicle. As a result, I suffered major memory loss, which unfortunately, I failed my exams. it was impossible to retain information. This one school piqued my interest the most, and it was the Distinction College. Lowest school fee and flexible payment plan. They offer over 35 vocational and professional courses. Eventually, I became a part of the family, and during my time there, I resat my exams, and with the patience of my teachers, I was successful. In addition to that, I studied media and broadcasting, specializes in radio presentation. I co-hosted the school's radio show, Distinction 411. I voiced numerous ads for the school, interview artists, hosted graduation. And now, I have my own radio show called On the Air with Tashika Lou. So you see, my friends, if I can do it and I did, you can do it too. You can call them at 876-356-4167.
What's your story? What's your sign? Who dreamers? Hear what other people say. We're doing this in our own way. We come alive. We come alive. We come alive. We're doing this in our own way. We come alive.
Senior Vice President for Investment Banking at Maybury Investments, Dan Theok, says he's optimistic that the Bank of Jamaica will cut interest rates in the coming months as inflation trends downwards.
We're going to see the BOJ rates come down. Whether it's in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, I can't say. But the inflation numbers are what we want to watch. We know a lot of our inflation is imported inflation, and there's so much geopolitical nonsense going on in the world right now. So there is some noise there, but we saw the March numbers come out. It was within range. And if you look at the last 3 months and you look at the graph, you can see the trend is headed down. So, the idea of having 10, 11, 12% on 30-day CD rates, I think isn't sustainable or necessary if inflation's, within the target. What I like about that is the BOJ will be able to very quickly send a price signal. And so I look forward to seeing a 200 basis points drop on those 30-day CD rates.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark is emphasizing the importance of having record net international reserves totaling $5.137 billion. The finance minister took to social media platform Instagram on Tuesday to explain the significance of the historic achievement.
Having a high level of FX reserves lowers economic and investment risk and supports greater levels of investment. Increasing investment is necessary to support jobs, revenues, and improved standards of living. Economic resilience means we can weather economic shocks, whether they be from geopolitical tension, war, commodity price related, or natural disaster sources. And these shocks, though they may lead to temporary setbacks, economic resilience means that they don't derail our plans because we'll recover quickly.
And that's your quick biz. Be sure to tune in to CVM News for the latest business news of the day. I'm Andrew Lately.
Welcome to my corner office.
To your what?
Corner office.
So you were actually
a welder?
A welder? No, you leave from welding iron to know you're well wig.
My grandfather, he would come to me and say to me, little girl, come out of the mirror. How much time if you tell us and we come out on the stage? Yes.
Wig wasn't the thing. Your granny have one wig. You know them, the church wig, the little old stable wig that time. This industry has evolved. The dolls them in a wig, the Miss Kitties them in a wig, the celebrities overseas in a wig, everybody in a wig.
Horse racing, the revenue generated by the sport, by the game, it dwarfs every other sport combined, multiplied by whatever factor you want to apply. Chicken feed compared to what racing does for the economy. Recall that when the economy ground to a halt during COVID-19, the only industry that was allowed to open was racing. It was a reason the government cherry-picked that one. It's because of the cash that it brings into the government's coffers. And here we have a situation that threatens to destabilize, not damage, destabilize the cash cow that is racing for the government. A dispute regarding the imposition of this new rule about the start time, the advertised start time for races. The regulators have given a 5-minute leeway, and they are adamant that SVREL should abide by it, but April 27 debacle, 2 races abandoned because of the failure by the promoter to abide by the 5-minute leeway, although there were extenuating circumstances for both those events. The TOBA CEO, Ainsley Walters, on Monday you flew the kite of solutions. How do we fix from here, given that we have 2 entities, SVREL, their position is unassailable, the sole promoters of racing in Jamaica. There is no plan B. The JRC, they are empowered to regulate under the Jamaica Racing Commission Act. There is this impasse. It must be fixed. Ainsley, what do you suggest?
All right, just to step back a bit, I just heard Patrick refer to that this is a new phenomenon. It's not. This started long ago.
You damaged the set. It's all right. Never mind. Crack on. Crack on. Crack on.
Boy, it's such a topical subject.
There you go.
All right. This started long ago, especially under former, what was he, Chris Harmon, Supremo of racing. Right. I remember the stewards had many battles with Harmon over this issue.
Yes.
Until a CTL chairman stepped in and insisted that races must start on time. That was Pat Rousseau. Correct. And it did for a while. So Patrick, I'm just correcting with that.
Yes.
So this is nothing new.
Get into the solutions now.
Solutions.
I didn't say it was new.
When they said recent, it's like a recent.
Crack on, Ainsley.
Now, when I examine this whole situation, yes, races must start on time. SVRL is saying we earn an average of $4 million more per start of the first race, for example. We can't ignore that. But at the same time, how do we, juggle both balls? Now, when I look at this thing, SVRL operates approximately 140 OTBs. 75% or more of their sale come from these OTBs. Mm-hmm. Hence, a lot of this money that comes in should be coming in from the OTBs.
Yes.
Now, my experience when I visit these OTBs, I'm being told that on average, per OTB, it's 2 betting windows.
Yes.
Now, imagine that.
Depending on the size.
Depending on the size, on average. Now, imagine you going to an OTB, which is selling local racing and overseas racing, simulcast racing at the same time. That lady, that teller over there, who has to deal with that betting public 6-7 days per week, she's going to want to sell her 7-day per week customers.
Yes.
As opposed to with that race that's going off now in wherever.
Yes.
Elsewhere in the world, as opposed to you placing a Reggae 6, for example. That's going to take up a bunch of time with a crowd behind you. So she's going to go to the simulcast purchaser.
Yes.
That, I believe, is one of the problems that leads to this crunch at that point in time.
Right.
Now, how do you, I believe it's a matter of increasing the betting windows.
Yes.
At those OTBs. That I believe.
That's part of the solution.
That's a part of the solution. Another issue that has come up recently that I was made aware of this afternoon is that punters are now waiting to hear what the fixed odds man, they call him. He's the person who is telling what is happening. Now, it is being said that the fixed odds preview gives the local racing better an idea of what is happening on the ground.
Yes.
Because the fixed odds man is telling you which horse is getting most action, money coming in mid-morning.
Yes.
That's being gambled.
Right. Yes.
So if you get in more betting windows, I believe that you can immediately start addressing that crunch, and possibly you'll be able to fall into that 5-minute window that SVRL is being allowed.
Yes.
However, George, how do you get in more betting windows?
Yes.
I remember years ago it was being suggested that SVL machines should carry racing as well.
Yes.
That was thrown out the window, I believe, because it was said that the contending companies didn't want to be on the same.
So you believe the machines should be so
platform.
outfitted
No,
to?
I believe though that the Enibet, I believe that the amalgamation of betting shops that SVL now operates, years ago, there was the United Bookmakers Association then wanted to run a local, sell local racing alongside Caymanas Park, and one of the trade-offs would be that
I wanted to get to the solution.
CTL machines would be in those betting shops. So I believe if we know that SVL controls that amalgamation of betting shops, machines, I believe, it should be look to put machines in those betting shops.
I have 4 minutes left. I don't want to give you fair crack, but I want to ask you, how do you feel with the situation as it was, the rules as they were applied on April 27, and the delays being punished? I call it punished. When the stewards have the stewards inquiry that run interminably long, and we all have to sit and wait until the matter of the stewards inquiry is sorted out before the next race gets underway. Reconcile that for me.
Well, this is where now the Jamaica Racing Commission is a law. So do as I say and just line up and just take whatever. So when on Sunday I did an interview at the track, you know, I tried to communicate with our betting public. We told them, you know, we're sorry what happened, but these are the extenuating circumstances. Not everybody knew. And right when I did the interview, I had to wait 16 minutes because there was a inquiry with the horse Sparkle and the other horse who came second. The horse Sparkle was disqualified after 16 minutes, 14, 16 minutes. So what happens then? How do we communicate and go forward based on how the rule is written? Am I to now go and say, Mr. Steward, you took 16 minutes. How do we adjudicate from there? There was a recent seminar, and one of our executives, Christopher Wills, asked those questions. And he was frowned upon by the steward. So I don't know. We don't know if it's a little vengeance. And the steward on the day was pissed off by what Mr. Wills said, because we then asked the law, what if you are at fault?
Yes.
What happens?
Yes.
So the stewards on Saturday, right, were overzealous. And I think it's not a well thought out rule, and it does not serve racing well. I have sat here and heard others say that drag was there before me. I think they're trying to say that I try to act a little tough and want to implement the drag. Drag is used internationally.
Yes.
The handle forms a very important part of how the most important bill, the purse, gets paid.
Yes.
So we have gone, we have shared figures, we have shared everything, we have shared, hey, how do we make this work? And we are told that we must discipline our punters and make them fall in line.
Yes.
You do not discipline consumers. You do not discipline punters. Punters will turn their back at a time when racing needs every dollar.
Yes. And that's where I disagree with Solomon.
Go ahead, Patrick, quickly.
We trainers and owners are some of the biggest punters. And if we know that at 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock is when the race is going to start, and we need to put in a pick 6 or a pick what or whatever bet, we are going to ensure that it is done before 12. So while I agree with Solomon with regard to the while I agree with Solomon with regards to the stewards inquiry, that's a bit long.
Yes.
I totally disagree with him.
I'm out of time. Chairman Metcalf, you've heard the views. Are you minded, based on the events of April 27, to amend the rule, or are you going to say more training? Quickly.
Obviously, listening to what said, some training is required because the stewards can always do discretion. And if there is a delay in an inquiry, then certainly added time should be added to the post time. So that is a no-brainer. What I just want to make clear is that, you know, delays compromise the health of horses and the risk of justice is threatened, you know, because of rehydration and electrolyte replenishment are delayed. So there is a need, we just cannot delay. If Jamaican punters are very disciplined, once they see the horses go on the track, they will start to bet. If you tell them the race starts at 12 and you cut off at 12, the next race day they are not going to miss.
Clovis, I hear you.
Bet.
I hear you.
If they carry $100, George, to the track. They can't spend more than
Hear you on that. Hear you on that. We're out of time. There's just enough time for me to say this. That look, I've been a student of this game from before the time I could spell the word student. I believe in a drag policy. I believe that the races can't start at the advertised post time for various things. I believe that 5 minutes is reasonable, but I believe that there must be discretion applied. I believe that the practice of the interminably long stewards' inquiries is not in the best interest of the game. I also believe that the deliberate protraction of the post-time activities to delay the start of the races is also not in people's best interest. In fact, as a broadcaster, I felt the brunt of that problem because I've advertised to my viewers a race that we're going to cover at 4:30, and at 4:47 we still are not at post time. But I believe that there's enough in it for the stakeholders to meet and find common ground in the interest of the most important person, the betting man or woman, and of course the owners who sustain the sport of horse racing. Thanks to Clovis Metcalf, thanks to Patrick Spenny, thanks to Ainsley Walters, and thanks to Father Grinch Solomon Sharp. The news is up next. That's the story.
Look who we have in the cut. No, today episode I got nice. Legends, Senator, my long-time brethren, the great, all-star, the king, and the man himself. Salute! You know, as man, we're not too go as specialists, and that's the pinnacle of the problem. We want some new era. Do what you love and you never work a day in your life. Lie! You work till a week. It was pandemonium. Country people can't relate to me I talk about.
What you think about me no matter, you know. What matter to me is what me think about myself.
Man United, you know. I don't care what man want to say.
You know, man.
Yeah, man.
You know, man. You finished?
Yes, we finished.
The Cut is brought to you by Flo and Guinness.
We are back with another E-Live, and today you will get a glimpse of the experience that was 420 Kuya's anniversary party. We talked about experience.
Yeah man, this is Fire King aka Nile Banks. We're there at Kuya anniversary. The vibe nice.
I'm feeling the vibe. I'm having a really good time. It's very nice.
The reason for us being here tonight is that we're sharing the coffee culture with Jamaica. This is an artisanal product, so it's no preservatives, no dairy or anything like that, so kind of fusion with the natural culture with Kaya Herb House, the Kuya fashion line with coffee, edible, health, natural cups.
We talked about art and what inspires it.
It comes from geometry, the stained glass, you know, like a church, the light.